My name is Nitya. I'm PhD student from National University of Singapore. I'll be presenting my work, A Stealthy Location Identification Attack, Exploiting Carrier Aggregation in Cellular Network. There's a joint work with Nishant, Choon, and my supervisor, Minsuk and Jun. Location information is highly sensitive, and any leakage can cause serious privacy threat. Multiple works have shown that existing LTE network leaks location information. One such work demonstrates how the attacker infers a driving route of a victim by just observing the power consumed by the phone. The main limitation here is that the adversary needs to install a malware on the victim's phone. Another work shows how the adversary can infer if a victim is in the same cell area or not. The limitation here is that the adversary obtains only coarse-grained location information. In this work, we try to answer the following question. Can an adversary identify a more fine-grained path without any malware installation? The answer is yes. We propose a novel location identification attack that overcomes the limitation of the previous work. Our attack infers a walking path of the victim in outdoor and indoor multi-story environment without requiring any malware to be installed on the victim's phone. How do we do this? We exploit a new side channel in carrier aggregation feature in modern cellular network. In modern cellular network, the users are served by multiple cells, that is, one primary cell and multiple secondary cell that supplements the primary cell. Carrier aggregation feature combines bandwidth across multiple cells to increase the bandwidth. We discover a new side channel in the carrier aggregation feature, namely the number of actively transmitting cell at any given point of time. In this example, the side channel value is 3, that is one primary cell and 2 secondary cell. So the next obvious question is, how can such seemingly not so useful information be used to identify the walking path? We introduce SLIC, which is a stealthy location identification attack exploiting carrier aggregation, and show that SLIC identifies a walking path using the side channel. I'll now illustrate how SLIC does this. To enable carrier aggregation, user equipment or UE measures the channel of the secondary cell and sends a measurement report to the primary cell. The primary cell then configures the secondary cell using the configuration message. This message is sent encrypted, so the adversary will not be able to read the cell ID assigned to the user, providing location privacy. However, the side channel gets leaked when UE has some downlink activity. How? Whenever UE has some downlink activity, the primary cell activates one or more secondary cell by using this activation bitmap message. This message is sent unencrypted. Hence, the adversary will be able to read the bitmap message. As mentioned earlier, the side channel here is the number of activated secondary cell. Hence, the adversary observes 2 secondary cell being activated for this particular user. Now, as the user walks, new set of secondary cell gets configured and activated. Now, the adversary sees the change in the number of secondary cell from 2 to 4. As the user walks further, the new set again gets configured and activated, and adversary sees a change from 4 to 3. In this work, we show that this variation in the side channel can be used to identify the walking path. I'll now present the threat model of SLIC. The goal is to identify path among the set of all candidate walking path. SLIC adversary has a minimal capability of passively monitoring the downlink channel and a UE with carrier aggregation capability. We assume the victim is on foot with some downlink activity, and the network identity, which is the TIMC, is already mapped to the real-world identity using one of the previous attacks. SLIC is conducted in 2 phases. The first phase is the reconnaissance phase, where the adversary walks the path of the victim multiple times to obtain the labeled record. The adversary collects the record for all K possible paths of the victim. In the attack phase, the adversary monitors the downlink channel of the victim to obtain the victim's record, which he compares with the labeled record to finally identify the path the victim is on. SLIC has 3 main challenges. The first challenge is Noisy side channel due to limited downlink. The side channel can become noisy when the number of secondary cell in the labeled record is different from the number of secondary cell in the victim's record. For example, the labeled record may have 4 activated secondary cell, but the victim record may have only 1 due to low data usage, thereby making the side channel noisy. The second challenge is different walking speeds of the adversary and the victim. It's possible that the walking speed of the adversary in the reconnaissance phase is different from the walking speed of the victim in the attack phase. This can cause two different measurements on the same path, due to which direct comparison may not work. The third and final challenge is related to the evaluation of SLIC. The existing LTE network typically supports only 3 or 4 CA. While this is sufficient for SLIC to work, the attack effectiveness of SLIC will improve further in the near future cellular network, which will have more CAs. So the third challenge is, how do we test SLIC in such near future cellular network, which does not yet exist? To solve the first challenge of noisy side channel, we propose to calibrate the record to match the victim's record. That is, we calibrate all labeled record such that the maximum number of secondary cell in the labeled record is same as that of the victim's record. For example, in this plot, the x-axis represent time and the y-axis represent the number of secondary cells. The maximum number of activated cell in the victim's record here is 4. Hence, we cap the labeled record to have 4 as well. This newly calibrated record closely matches the victim's record, thereby reducing the noise. To solve the second challenge of different walking speed, we employ absolute value dynamic time warping technique. Absolute value DTW technique is a variation of the standard DTW technique that finds the best alignment between two walks on the same path, even when the walking speeds are different. The main difference is that we do not normalize the side channel value, instead use the absolute value. This is because absolute value leaks location information. For example, when a value of 6 is seen, it means that there is a spot in the walking path which has 6 secondary cell, thereby leaking that information. To solve the third challenge of near future cellular network, we emulate with existing Wi-Fi network. Details of how we do this can be found in the paper. Now I'll first summarize the evaluation result of SLIC and then present the main results. We conduct two types of experiments. One is a large-scale experiment in the near future cellular network. We evaluate SLIC when all paths are fingerprinted, when only some paths are fingerprinted, for different building types, and for limited downlink activity, and show that SLIC is highly effective under all this condition. For the second type, we conduct small-scale experiment in the current LTE cellular network and show the feasibility of SLIC. So I'll now discuss the main result of SLIC only due to the time constraint. Please read the paper for the rest of the results. For the large-scale experiment, we collect 46 short indoor path segments in 2 multi-floor buildings in our university. We then synthesize 100 to 300 paths by combining these path segments of varying distance. This plot shows the performance of SLIC when adversary fingerprints all the path in the system. X-axis is the path distance and y-axis is the path identification accuracy. SLIC achieves 94% for 100 paths of distance 200 to 250 meters. This increases to 98.4% when longer paths is considered. The result clearly shows that SLIC is highly effective in indoor multi-story building in near future cellular network. Now let me discuss 3 possible countermeasures against SLIC. The first countermeasure removes the discovered side channel information completely by encrypting the activation bitmap messages. Although it is fundamental solution to SLIC, it requires some changes to the standard. The second countermeasure instead reduces the side channel information by adding noise bits to the activation bitmap message. The solution can be readily deployable, but it is only partially effective. There is another countermeasure that is orthogonal to the earlier solution. That is, to make the devices less identifiable by changing the TIMSIs more frequently. It is, however, very well known that achieving this in 4G is difficult. 5G seems to be doing much better. Please check these recent attacks and security patches in 5G. In conclusion, we discover a new side channel in carrier aggregation feature. SLIC identifies fine-grained walking path with 98.4% accuracy in near future cellular network. We propose long-term and short-term countermeasure, and we have disclosed the vulnerability to GSMA who have acknowledged them. Thank you.